Hello and welcome. It's that time of the year again. Sunscreen reviews. Yay! I love doing sunscreen reviews. And last year I did two big reviews. I did all my mineral sunscreens and then all my chemical sunscreens and broke them down into two huge reviews. But I thought this year that I'd do it a little bit differently. I'm going to break my reviews down into smaller mini reviews. That way we can sprinkle them throughout the year. And we're supposed to be wearing sunscreen 365 days a year. I don't know why I just think about it in spring and summer. So that's what I'm going to do this year. So let's get started. I am going to talk about mineral sunscreens. I've chosen 5 today. I have 2 untinted and 3 tinted sunscreens to share with you. If you're new, welcome. My name is Cindy. I'm a licensed cosmetologist and I love to review skincare. I also do occasional hair care and makeup reviews. If you like that content, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow my little channel, so I certainly would appreciate that. And if you enjoyed today's content, definitely throw this a thumbs up. That always helps me out. So I really appreciate that. Also, if you like Instagram or TikTok, I'm over on those platforms. My kids talk me into doing TikTok. I'm having fun over there too, if you like more informal content. So as many of you already know, mineral sunscreens tend to be less irritating and they contain inorganic filters. The 2 that we have are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. If you see a sunscreen with zinc oxide, you're probably good because zinc oxide is a broad spectrum filter. But if you see one with just titanium dioxide, I would steer clear because the titanium dioxide doesn't have as good a UVA broad spectrum coverage as the zinc. So usually you'll see a mineral sunscreen with the combination of these inorganic filters. And I think actually 2 of the ones that I have here for you today are zinc only. The rest are combination zinc and titanium dioxide formulas. So I have 5 sunscreens to share with you. I have both tinted and untinted sunscreens. Now the tinted sunscreens have iron oxides, and I just wanted to briefly talk about the benefit of iron oxides. There are 2 benefits to having an iron oxide in your sunscreen. They can help, number 1, protect against UVA rays, and also number 2, help protect against the high energy visible light, the blue light. So often you'll find tinted sunscreens have a little bit better protection. Now the first one I'm going to share with you is Dr. Jart Every Sunday sunscreen. It has both zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as the filters. It's untinted, so no iron oxides in this one. For the ingredients, the emollients are mostly dimethicones, so it has that kind of dimethicone feel when it comes out, but it dries down really nicely, and it doesn't have that typical situation that you get with dimethicones where pilling occurs. So the texture is really creamy, and you'll notice that it does have a considerable white cast when it first comes out, but it does shear down. It dries semi-matte, so if you wanted to layer a foundation over this, I don't think you'd have any problem. And it doesn't pill, which I think is amazing for a formula that has as much dimethicone as this one does. Now the drawback to this one is, number 1, it does have a white cast. I'm about a Fitzpatrick 2. So if you have deeper skin tones, this probably isn't going to work for you, especially with reapplying. But the other drawback to this one, which I kind of like, is it does have fragrance in it. So if you have sensitive skin and aren't interested in having fragrance in your skincare, then this won't work for you. It's a citrus smell. It's kind of nice. It smells like orange blossoms. It does fade though. I noticed that it doesn't kind of stick around. So like I said, it's a creamy formula. It dries down semi-matte. As you can see, it doesn't leave too bad of a white cast. If you layer up your next layer, it will get a little bit more of a white cast. And I feel like I need a little bit of foundation over this to kind of get that chalky look kind of cut down. So I would apply a little bit of foundation over this just to give my skin a little bit more color. And the cost is $40 per 1.7 ounce. So let's move on to the next sunscreen that I have for you, which is also untinted. It's the Cetaphil Sheer Mineral sunscreen, and this is a zinc only sunscreen, SPF 50. Now this one is a little bit runnier as far as texture than the Dr. Jart. You can see it's pretty runny. And for zinc only, it's going to be, even though they say it's sheer, it is pretty white, has definite white cast. And again, this one, once it dries down, I'd say it has a little bit more of a white cast than the Everyday Sunday formula. But once this dries down, it does dry down to a semi-matte, where you could easily put a foundation over it with no problem. The reapplication is going to be the issue with both of these sunscreens because they leave a bit of a white cast. So Reapplication would probably be best with like a powder formula sunscreen. And I know these aren't the greatest in coverage, but if you did need to reapply, I think if you're going to put foundation over these to kind of cut down the white cast, you might want to think about getting a powder sunscreen. This one just happens to be the one from Supergoop. So the one thing that is a bonus in the Cetaphil, even though it's a drugstore sunscreen, is it has wonderful skin-loving ingredients. It has allotonin, I always stumble over this word, bisabolol, which is a derivative of the chamomile plant. It's soothing, calming. The allotonin is a soothing and calming ingredient. It softens, and on top of it, allotonin is a great skin softener. It also has niacinamide. For a drugstore formula, I think that's amazing, that it has niacinamide and all these skin-loving ingredients. So niacinamide for brightening and lightening and calming irritation. It also has vitamin E, but that also is an antioxidant, but it's again a little bit lower down on the ingredient deck. It probably is serving more as a stabilizer as opposed to like protecting us from free radical damage as a typical antioxidant would. All right, now this has dried down a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of a semi-matte. You could definitely layer foundation over this pretty nicely, and the white cast isn't too bad. Like I said, if you're kind of more on the darker skin tone, you probably would not appreciate this formula. But for a drugstore formula and a zinc-only formula, I was actually pretty impressed. And this is around $14 for the 1.7 ounces. So definitely not a bad price. The next sunscreens that I have to share with you are tinted mineral sunscreens. The first one is the much talked about Tatcha Silk Sunscreen. I had a really hard time getting a hold of this. I went to get it during the VIB Sephora sale, but it was all sold out, so I ended up getting it on the Tatcha website. And I'm glad I got a chance to try it. It's actually the one I'm wearing today. And it has a really nice dewy finish. It's a zinc oxide only formula. And the tone is kind of a peachy tone, which is almost a really close match to my particular skin tone. I'll show you how that sort of, like I said, it's sort of dewy on the skin, and it remains dewy. Like this is a couple hours later, and it's still dewy on the skin. So it's a very dewy formula. So let's talk about the skin ingredients in this, because this is skincare plus sunscreen all in one. It has antioxidants. It actually has 4 antioxidants. It has green tea, vitamin E, coca seed extract, and burdock root extract, which is anti-inflammatory. It has chock full of emollients, squalane, dimethicone emollients, and capric triglyceride, which is made from glycerin and or cocoa oil. We also have moisturizers, humectants, propanediol, niacinamide, which is hydrating, hydrolyzed silk, which is the call-out ingredient in this particular formula. So that's what they're using as a moisturizer, and also sodium hyaluronate. The soothing ingredients in this are bisabolol, and that is the one from the chamomile plant. And again, we have allotonin in here. So soothing ingredients, moisturizing ingredients, emollients, one of my favorite emollients, squalane, and 4 antioxidants. So this is basically skincare and sunscreen all in one. And the price really shows, because it is $60 for a 1.7 ounce compared to the other ones that we were looking at. So it's on the pricier side, but it's kind of in this cute packaging. I kind of like it. It's really easy to slip into a bag, really skinny. And the formula, like I said, is a little bit dewy and dries up or sets really nicely in the skin. But here's the negative for this one. And I'm going to show it to you in a picture when I was trying to reapply it. When I went to reapply it, it pilled terribly. So I think you're going to have a hard time, depending on what skincare you've used that morning. I think I used a couple serums, just my basic morning skincare routine with a couple serums. And it really pilled badly when I went to reapply it. So I think if you're going to be wearing this under makeup, I think you're going to have a hard time with it. At least that was my experience. So let me know in the comments if you've tried the sunscreen and if it pilled on you, because I think the dimethicones in here are causing quite a bit of pilling. And let's see, so the next one is a cult classic at this point. It's the Dermatology Physical Tinted Sunscreen SPF 44. This is zinc and titanium combined. It is a very creamy formula. It's not as sheer as the Tatcha. It has a more opaque consistency to it. Because the pigments in this sunscreen are more opaque, similar to a medium coverage foundation, I find it helpful to use a foundation brush to go around the hairline to blend it all in. It does dry down really nicely on my skin. The skincare ingredients are kind of minimal in this. It does have vitamin E as an antioxidant. It has ascorbyl palmitate, and it is also an antioxidant. It has the silicones are kind of its emollients, and glycerin is the humectant, they call it humectant, and sodium hyaluronate. So it's not quite packed with the skincare ingredients that the Tatcha formula has, but it's a beautiful formula, and the benefit that I think this one has is it doesn't pill. It's easy to reapply. It has a nice dewy finish. I think it has a little bit darker skin, a little bit darker tint to it. So if you're a little bit on more toward the Fitzpatrick 3 olive tones, you might be able to get away with this a little bit easier than you will with the Tatcha. So, or any of the non-tinted sunscreens that I showed you earlier. And the cost is $28 for 2.1 ounces, which is actually drugstore price. Basically, it's the same price as this. So $14, about $14 an ounce. So it's really affordable. It's a lovely sunscreen. Last but not least is a tinted sunscreen that I've reviewed many times on this channel, but I didn't want to leave it out because I really wanted to compare it to the Dermatology. It's the Peter Thomas Roth Max Mineral Naked SPF 45. This is also zinc and titanium dioxide formula. It has a lot of skincare ingredients in it as well. It has, the emollients are safflower oil and squalene. It has humectants, propanediol, antioxidants, vitamin E, vitamin C, and vitamin A, so it's chock full of antioxidants. It also has gluconolactone, which is a moisturizer and antioxidant. So it has more skin-loving ingredients than the Dermatology formula, but per price it's a little bit more expensive. It's closer to $45 for the 1.7 ounces. So it's a little bit pricier, but you also get those skin-loving ingredients. The texture is super creamy. It dries down slightly dewy, very similar to the Dermatology, but let me do a comparison on the back of my hand. The Dermatology is a little bit more opaque. Actually, I'll do the Tatcha, the Dermatology, and Peter Thomas Roth all next to each other so you can kind of get a comparison here of the tints, the creaminess of the formula, and how they kind of sheer out. So that's the Dermatology. This is the Peter Thomas Roth, so it's slightly lighter, a little bit more sheer. You can see more skin coming through. And the sheerest and the peachiest is the Tatcha. So those are the different skin tints. The Dermatology is a little bit more warm. The Peter Thomas Roth is a little bit more on the yellower tones. And then of course the Tatcha has more peach tones. So that kind of gives you an idea of the different tints that you're going for. And as far as price, the Peter Thomas Roth is about $45 for the 1.7 ounces. So it's definitely a little bit more expensive than the Dermatology for sure, but it's not as expensive as the Tatcha. So it also I just think it's a great formula because it has all the skin-loving ingredients that I really appreciate. So that's a quick wrap up of the 5 mineral sunscreens that I've been trialing out and one all-time fave. As I promised you at the beginning of the video, I want to show you how you can try 14 sunscreens for under $40 and have half the price of that go to a good cause. So it's the Sun Safety Kit that Sephora puts out every year. They put out in springtime. They do a terrible job advertising this, which I think is unfortunate because it's such a fun way to try a ton of sunscreens. I don't know about you, but I'm always on the search for my Holy Grail sunscreen. And you also get 2 full-size products. This year it's the Kiehl's is a full-size product and the Clinique Pep Start, and that's a mineral sunscreen. So you get to try a ton of sunscreens for a really great cause, and it doesn't cost you very much money. So if you're in the search for your Holy Grail and they still have these, go and grab one because it's a great way to try a ton of sunscreens for a low price. And I have to put it on my calendar every year or else I forget about it. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you appreciated this quick roundup of 4 mineral sunscreens. If you got some benefit out of today's video, I sure would appreciate if you'd like, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. I always appreciate the time that you spend with me, and I'm wishing you a sun safety skintastic day. Take good care, everybody. Bye.